Hey, and a warm welcome to everybody, whenever it's morning, afternoon, or evening in your part of the world. Today, we are on the fifth session on Spotlight and App Innovation and AI. My name is Jordan. Thank you for joining us. I'm thrilled to be your host today at this event. I'm together with Adi Stein, Benun, and Moria Dror. Before we dive into the events, I would like to take a quick brief to everyone about the reactor. Whoever is new to the reactors are regional community hubs that Microsoft owns in 12 different locations. We have online and in-person events worldwide, and we can also offer you programming online. So you can choose whenever in the world in a different time zone, scan the QR code, and you can subscribe to our events. So this is the Microsoft Learn platform, and you can go ahead and scan the QR code to see a little bit of the training models we have and all kind of learning platforms in all development, in all the development journey that you can do. This is how a model looks like. On this event, you can actually scan and learn a little bit about the AI Learning Hub. So those models are made for AI, specifically on AI, and will give you all the information and the learning models all for free. You can make different different learning models, learning journeys, and even get certifications in the end. Today, series is Spotlight on App Innovation and AI. This is our fifth session. You can go ahead, scan the QR code, and register to the two remaining sessions that we will have in the next 2 weeks, or also go ahead and watch and stream the other series that we heard earlier. So a little bit about the code of contact that we have here. I want to remind everyone here that our aim is to cultivate positive and inclusive environment for all of the participants. So let's keep our interactions respectful and supportive. You can go ahead again and scan the QR code to learn more about Microsoft Reactor, subscribe to events and our newsletter, and I will hand over the stage to Adi.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining. We are after a little bit after the mid of the series, and we had an amazing lineup of speakers till now. And today is no difference. We have top speakers coming to you from the CIMA, from Microsoft Southeast region, as well as the CIMA Central Europe, Middle East, and Africa. And Yordan, can you present the next slide? So at the beginning, we're going to speak about building intelligent apps with AKS for AI application, for building intelligent apps application. And we have the amazing Paul Maddox, which is the director of digital app innovation at CIMA at Microsoft. And we also have Nikos Antonio, who is coming to us from Greece, and he's an enterprise cloud solution specialist. And having both Nikos and Paul with us today is amazing because they really shifted, they changed, they transformed the way that Microsoft customers, working with AI. And we have the opportunity today to hear from them. So thank you so much, Paul and Nikos. Paul.
Amazing. Thank you, Adi. Hey, everybody. It is an absolute pleasure to be here with you today and to dive into some fun technology and learn together. So as Adi said, my name's Paul Maddox. I lead our app innovation business here at Microsoft. Our team is all about helping developers, software engineers, builders build the next generation and the future of applications across every industry using amazing cloud technologies like AI and cloud native technologies. So that's exactly what we're going to dig into today. We've got a pretty action-packed session ahead for us. We're going to dive into the world of intelligent applications. How can we bring AI into every application that we use? How do you do that with Azure? How does Microsoft make that easier for you? How do we do it ourselves? We're going to talk a bit about kind of serverless development, a bit about cloud native development. And as a software engineer, what are the best practices you need to know? What are the technologies that you should be working with to make your life easier to build intelligent applications? So when we look at the world today, we've seen this incredibly rapid shift towards AI. Like if I look back a year ago and think about what we were talking about in technology, it's incredible how quickly everything has changed. And I think with that comes a change in expectations of consumers. If I think about myself and how I use technology today, and I use AI, and maybe you may say I'm at Microsoft, I'm going to be using AI a lot. But if I actually look at what I do on a day-to-day basis, whether it's emails and I'm using Copilot to summarize emails or draft new email responses, whether it's using Copilot to create PowerPoint presentations or work with Excel so I don't have to remember formulas, or whether it's GitHub Copilot, right? I can't live without GitHub Copilot at this point in time. It's so ingrained in my workflow. And that's through things like code suggestions, but also with GitHub Copilot chat using things like, explain this bit of code to me. What does this do? Where's the bug in this? Keeping me in that flow for longer. And so I've seen my world completely change. And with that, my expectations change. I was booking a flight recently. I had to rebook and reschedule a flight. And I opened up the chatbot on the airline's website. And it took me to this chatbot that, you could just tell it was built before large language models were a big thing. It was clunky. It was hard to work with. I had to try and work out what the trigger words were. And as soon as the situation got at all complicated, it took me back out and told me to call customer services. So I think we see everywhere with the wide adoption of AI and large language models that the expectation of consumers is changing. But also with that, there are new possibilities for us as developers to completely change industries, to completely change the lives of people and how people work, how people live, how people interact. I think, if we look at ChatGPT today, it's so widely adopted by so many consumers around the world. It's become a part of daily life for many people. So how do we as developers think about that? How do we make the journey from being a software engineer or being a developer to being an AI developer, to being a developer in this day and age where we have those higher expectations? And guess what? That's exactly what we want to dive into today. So when we look at generative AI in general, McKinsey did a study in June last year that this boggles my mind, the amount of potential out there, right, in terms of revenue that can be built and value across every single industry. I think, looking at my last 6 months, a year of conversations with customers all over the globe, it's blown me away how every single industry is adopting AI and the pace they're adopting it, whether it's healthcare, doing patient triaging to reduce the workload and increase the availability of doctors, whether it's agriculture to try and increase yields and, reduce the bad years for farmers, whether it's retail, looking at smart retail experiences, instead of having to think, what am I having for dinner tonight? Have I got the right ingredients in my fridge, etc.? I can tell AI what I've got. I can tell AI what I want to eat. I can tell a retail website, hey, these are the things I've got. Make me a recipe. And if I'm missing anything, just get it delivered to me. And I think when we think about this kind of automation at every part of everyone's life, it's super interesting to me. I mentioned a minute ago about my use of AI and how it's saving me time every day. But I think for us as developers and engineers, what's really interesting is when we flip that mindset a bit and think, how can we apply that to every one of our customers, whatever industry you're in, whatever startup or enterprise, whoever your customers are, be they internal in your organization, be they external customers and consumers. What are the ways that you could make their life easier? And let's help you build that together. I think what we've seen, if we look at kind of app development over the last 5-10 years, in terms of modern app development principles, 12-factor applications, microservices, things like CI/CD bringing more agility. I think when we combine that with what we have with large language models and AI, natural language detection, applications that can suddenly understand our context, they understand data around us and what we're really trying to do. and allowing applications to make intelligent decisions about what we want to do and kind of get us to our destination quicker. This is where the magic really happens. And this is where, I, myself, Nikos, Adi, etc., spend a lot of our time working with customers to kind of work out what's the art of the possible here. What does that magical customer experience look like for your customers? And our job as Microsoft is to make this as easy as possible for you, right? So how can we streamline that developer experience? And we're going to dive into this today and kind of talk through the best of breed tools that we have here to kind of allow you to develop these applications as quickly as possible. How can we make sure that the AI models that you want to use, that you need to use, are easy for you to consume, right? We have a huge amount of AI infrastructure at Microsoft available to you as Microsoft and Azure customers, be it through hosted models, be it through GPT, be it through open source models, allowing you to benchmark models, etc. So how can we also deliver that in a way that you can bring your own data and bring context to those AI models to accelerate and build those applications that are truly smart for your customers? So today we're going to really dig into a part of the Microsoft platform here. I think when you look at the broader platform here, like this is quite a busy slide, right? But if we look at AI, right, in the top right-hand corner, we have AI cognitive services that allow you to do things like vision, recognition, OCR, audio, speech to text, etc., translation services, so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel there. We have managed databases, we have storage, we have observability to help you run your applications and keep them running and make sure that they can handle the load that you're expecting. We have the development lifecycles tools, be it GitHub, Visual Studio Code, etc. But the bit that we're really going to dive into today is the cloud native platform part, so that we can go over some of these services, dive deep into, hey, what's new in these areas? What should I know as an AI developer? And we're going to start off by talking a bit about Azure Kubernetes Service. So some of you may be using Azure Kubernetes Service already. Some of you may be using Kubernetes, maybe self-managed, self-hosted, somewhere else in the cloud, etc. With Azure Kubernetes Service, we provide a managed service for Kubernetes. We take care of the operational side, the control plane, etc., the provisioning of node pools, etc., so that when you have your containerized applications, you're thinking more about where do you develop them, how do you run them, how do you place your applications, and not how do I run Kubernetes? Because for most customers we speak to, how do I run Kubernetes is not a value differentiator in the market. The faster you can get your applications deployed, the faster time to market for you. And when you deploy to AKS, you should know that you're deploying to a very, very pressure tested platform. We use AKS heavily inside Microsoft to host some of the biggest services that everyone in the world knows. So things like Xbox, things like GitHub Copilot, things like Teams or Office 365. Think about the scale of Office 365 running on AKS. And it's not just those products from Microsoft that you might know and see every day, but also ChatGPT. I don't know if everyone here is familiar with the story of ChatGPT, but it's actually running on AKS. It's backed by Cosmos DB. We use Cosmos DB for the scale that we need for the data storage. It was developed on GitHub. All these technologies that we're going to talk about today, they work for customers, whether you're a startup that's just founding your first product out of someone's garage, or whether you're an enterprise or a government customer or a bank and need ultimate security controls and regulation and compliance, etc. So even the smallest startup in the world gets to take advantage of those benefits that the huge enterprises are taking advantage of. So you see here, like ChatGPT became the fastest growing consumer product in history, growing to 100 million active users in just 2 months, all through the scalability of AKS and the Azure platform behind it. We know that when customers are using AKS, it solves a ton of problems, right? When you're trying to think about the application I want to build, I need it to be reliable at scale. I want to be able to deploy safely. I want to be able to deploy in a way that if there's any bugs, I can roll back, or I can detect problems during a rollout and automatically roll back. I want self-healing architectures. I'm fed up of being on call and getting woken up in the middle of the night. I want, liveliness probes, etc. in my applications, so that when there is a problem, the system tries to fix it before I get woken up, and only wake me if there's something that can't be fixed. I want managed operations. I don't want to think about things like how do I, take down control planes to upgrade them and work with etcd, etc. I want a managed experience for Kubernetes. And I want it to integrate with all the tools I know and use today. So my IDEs, my CI/CD systems, whether it's GitHub, etc. With AKS, it is the open source Kubernetes that you know and love, but with these added on surroundings around security, operations, etc., to make your life as developers easier. I think the results are pretty clear. Forrester did a great study looking at what's the economic impact of AKS. How do we look at customers that use AKS today versus those that don't? And what are the differences that we see? The customers that are further down that journey of containerization, what are the benefits they're getting? And this study found that there was a 50% increase in developer productivity with customers that are using AKS and containerization. It found that the benefits of having these kind of modern development tools like AKS allowed customers to not only attract but retain staff better. So as a developer, do you want to join an organization that's still using software practices from the 90s, right? Still running bash scripts to update their war files everywhere, etc., and do deployments? Or do you want to join an organization that's using the best of the best tools that's going to make your life easier? And finally, ultimately, this resulted in a 25% revenue growth increase for customers that are using agile modern development technologies, using AKS versus other environments. So with that, I want to hand over to my colleague Nikos, who's going to talk you through some of the amazing new updates to AKS and also some hands-on demos and stuff. So Nikos, over to you, buddy.
Thank you very much, Paul. It has been really nice hearing you, let's say, discussing about how AI and cloud platforms are changing the way developers are working today. So continuing on that, AKS is the de facto, let's say, orchestrator platform currently. But at the same time, it brings some complexity along. That complexity is here, let's say, to be simplified and streamlined by the tools that Azure and Microsoft provides in order to allow a unified DevOps experience at scale for all teams, managing environments that are complex, that are maybe multi-regional, maybe on cloud, but at the same time at the edge. So it provides you with all the tools to push from your code to your GitHub Actions to a container registry with your image of your latest build, but rolling this application out to multiple Kubernetes clusters through Fleet Manager. Fleet Manager allows you to handle your Kubernetes cluster at a scale, at multiple instances, but simplifying a lot the operations that you have to manage in order to have this set of clusters, let's say, operating, rolling out new versions, monitoring them, and keeping them at a control and the policies that you would like to have in place. That, having in mind also that Azure can provide you end-to-end operational, not only on the Azure platform, but also on different clouds, but also on edge environments. So Kubernetes Fleet Manager can help you manage all those different Kubernetes clusters, even if they reside on your on-premise environment or even on a third-party cloud, simplifying a lot your day-to-day job as a team rolling out applications on a daily basis. But at the same time, this AI era that we're rolling into creates a lot of different needs for the development teams, machine learning teams, allowing customers actually to roll out applications with intelligence, with many personalized experience and so on. But all this does not come easy. So machine learning on AKS and machine learning is actually is actually a streamlined now experience that allows you, the machine learning team, to build, train, validate those models, deploy, and monitor them, so that you know that your machine learning model not only reach your production environment, but at the same time they operate at the quality that you expect. At the same time, there are Azure Machine Learning Kubernetes extension allows you to manage through Azure Arc those on-premises clusters, rolling out your machine learning models even on premise environments, but also unifying the experience of having to run multiple Kubernetes environments across different clouds. So this unified experience allows you, with a much simplified daily work, alleviating a lot this complexity and the load in managing all these environments at a scale. And running LLMs and inferencing workloads on AKS, it's not an easy task. It's not a task also that comes easy to a dev team. There are many, let's say, things to be careful of when you're trying to run such a workload on Kubernetes. So first of all, you have to download and manage very large model, which could be in the hundreds of gigabytes in size, having very expensive, let's say, requirements in terms of memory, GPU capabilities, but also compute power. It's difficult to create those container files to reduce the model weights in order for the rollouts to be fast, not to have disruptions in the way that you roll out a new service. It's not always simple how to host the model image. It's something that is a bit more complex, required specialized knowledge, especially that among the thousands of open source models that we have available, not everyone has the same way of behaving or needs the same GPU specifications and so on. So it has to be to go deeper, understanding how your hardware will be serving your models. So selecting the necessary GPU infrastructure, but at the same time, when everything is done and deployed, you have to be able to create that application endpoint for your application to actually use and leverage those inference endpoints. And running those day two operations, which in many times the biggest problem in teams operating this kind of workloads, can really surface very edge cases of GPU quota limitations, and which are not always easy to troubleshoot. All these steps may take a team to dig deep in all these specifications and different problems that could take even weeks to roll out successfully, let's say, and operate such a model. So we are very happy actually recently to bring into a public preview what we call Kubernetes AI tool chain operator, Kaito. So Kaito is here to allow you to fully manage, and enable you to do those old tasks that can usually take weeks in matter of just a few minutes, because you delegate all this complex set of steps to an operator that is exactly created just to troubleshoot and streamline all this process. So it will allow you to load models in a streamlined fashion, containerize those models, host those images in a way that would allow them to be very efficiently pulled to a Kubernetes cluster, but at the same time allow you to abstract away this provisioning of the GPU infrastructure needed in order to serve those kind of workloads. So again, we are part of a team that is responsible to roll out a new a new application. We have actually the Contoso Pet Supplies team, a very successful actually application and service. So it supplies everything that your pet might need. So we were tasked as a dev team in a scenario, let's say, to roll out this application and to make it go worldwide, to build on the success it had in the local market and to reach out to new markets. So what we need is actually to roll this out in different locations in multiple regions. So what we had so far is actually we had our code. We're pushing those containers, container artifacts in our container registry. But now we have the ability to leverage Kubernetes Fleet Manager to roll out in multi-region fashion. So we're targeting multiple different AKS clusters. Leverage Service Bus Queue to create this seamless asynchronous processing of all the incoming orders by our customers. Use Cosmos DB as a global backend for our application, seamlessly and replicating our data across different regions. Make it really easy for the dev team actually to put that very complex sometimes concern of persistence completely out of their responsibility, allowing for very fast rollout times and without having to care with too many concerns around how to scale my data, how to make it available in different regions, and so on. At the same time, we're using AKS, leveraging the managed identity, RBAC, to have full control of how our developers and machine learning teams are using this Kubernetes cluster, providing monitor to have end-to-end visibility of what's going on my application. As of course, I don't really only have to roll it out, but I have to understand that it's up and running, it's serving my customers, and to have that feedback loop to understand how can I improve it, how can I make it better and roll out the next version to be even more successful, and to understand if there are any problems to troubleshoot them in a timely fashion. Of course, apply policies horizontally in order to make sure that I have all the controls in terms of networking, in terms of access rights, and so on, applied across all my clusters. And at the end, to provide an AI service that could talk to my OpenAI backend with a managed identity without me having to manage the secrets. So going now into seeing it in action, let's say, this is how our pet shop looks like. So my backend users, when they have to manage this backend, they have to provide subscriptions. So I have deployed my environment in 2 clusters, in 2 different regions. Both of them are RGC working in different locations. And I have deployed all my services already in the cluster, and I want now I've been tasked to create with a new AI service that would allow my backend users to leverage AI for the description of those products. So going into the portal I have now, Draft, empowering my deployments, me selecting all the necessary details in order to deploy a new service. I select the Docker files directly from my my source control system. I select the container registry when I want to push my new image. I directly leveraging and having information of my own environment, and then I go with just a couple of clicks deploying a new service, having Draft actually creating all the necessary artifacts, including the manifest needed in order to do that deployment, create a new namespace, a new node pool that is necessary, let's say, to host my environment. And with some clicks and with the help of Draft, which is actually now in public preview, able to support me in streamlining all this provisioning of Kubernetes deployments. Then it creates a pull request for me. Once I accept it, all this workflow will run and deploy my application to actually across all my environments through Fleet Manager. I just wait a bit. My pipeline is running, and after that, I will be seeing, that I have a new service deployed at the bottom, the AI service, able to provide me with some intelligence in the way I manage my backend systems. So just providing a small hint, I can now generate the description for my new products, and simplifying a lot, the work my backend users have to make. And this is now where Kaito can come into place. I have my machine learning team working with a customized Falcon deployment, an open source LLM, and I need to deploy it. So I create just the manifest of how I want my deployment to look like. I change my endpoint, instead of pointing to OpenAI endpoint to point to my local LLM that will be deployed within my cluster. So once I push that change, Kaito will do its magic to provision a new node pool for me, a GPU-enabled node pool, and have all this, the model, the customized model, the LLM, the Falcon 7B, that was tailor-made by my machine learning team, available for my application to leverage. So with a set of simple steps, I can have now that machine learning model already deployed in my cluster as a service, provisioned and powered by a GPU-enabled node pool, as we will see here, and all this managed for me without me having to do all this complex work that is requiring, when it is needed to host a new LLM model on AKS. Now I can do the task, use my tailor-made LLM model that can provide even more accurate, let's say, description based on what I need, because it was tailor-made. Leverage directly that endpoint for my application to use in a very short period of time. So this is how I can now, let's say, allow the infusion of AI in a simplified set of steps. So in this regard, Kaito can really take this set of steps for me. So scale on demand, responding to inferencing request, understand and use accelerate networking InfiniBand in order to roll out those large models to my application, my Kubernetes cluster, leveraging artifact streaming in a very short time, can really reduce a lot the time a model in a new container has to be deployed, having it up and running in a very short period of time, especially with large LLMs. It can reduce drastically the time that is needed for my container to be up and running and accepting requests. And of course, having in place GPU support for Windows workloads, keeping that all this set of steps done for me, for my team. So another set of functionality, let's say, that is now available in public preview is node auto provisioning, which is leveraged by Kaito. So understand the right infrastructure that is needed for your workloads and efficiently optimize the usage of those nodes in order to keep your application running, but reduce and optimize the running cost. It is based on the open source Carpenter project, which is now leveraged also by the AKS provider, and makes it available for you to simplify a lot the way you roll out your application. So having in place what are the set of resources needed for your new containers, you don't really have to provision your node pools. You just need to roll out the deployments. And node auto provisioning will make sure that it will provision the right size nodes in order to fit your workload. And whenever this changes, this will make sure that the underlying infrastructure again is right sized for your workloads, even if they get reduced or even if they get increased. Another feature that is hidden behind this magic that Kaito does for us is artifact streaming. So as those, especially LLM models, are really big, this make the effect of artifact streaming really emphasized, is providing you with a magic that allows you the start time for your containers to be reduced a lot by allowing the startup of a container as soon as the necessary first layers of that container is already streamed to the cluster. We can have a quick view of the effect artifact streaming can have in the startup time for a pod, reducing a lot for a small container size of a 2 gig from 100 seconds to 5. But as the size increases, especially in the LLM models, can be really drastic, allowing you a drastic reduce in time from 400 seconds to 10 seconds in order to have that new container and workload up and running in very small period of time. Application routing now is add-on for AKS is now generally available, that allows you and simplifies a lot the managing of those ingress rules. Is already security is built in by default, allowing you to pull in your SSL and TLS certificates by leveraging Azure Key Vault. And it allows you to configure public and private DNS zones or use third-party DNS provider in order to tailor the needs of your application routing for your workloads. Going a bit again to the features that were recently made generally available in the recent KubeCon conference, maybe you had a glimpse of this, is now application gateway for containers is available, that allows you the load balancing and dynamic traffic management for your workloads running in a Kubernetes cluster, and extends how Azure application load balancing portfolio can be used by your teams in order to provide a seamless experience exposing your workloads. So it enables traffic splitting and weighted round robin between your backend systems, mutual authentication to the backend. It supports for ingress and gateway API, but also allows you for flexible deployment strategies, fine-tuning exactly the routes that you want to expose for your workloads and make them available in a fashion that can be really fine-tuned. Confidential containers, again, it's also a feature that allows you to have container level sandboxing and isolation as you get and you have to process more sensitive information, especially when you want to leverage even LLMs to process that information. You want to have the utmost security of those data. So code integrity with shared OS protection. And you can run and modify the standard containers, and that protection in memory for those workloads is something that you can start leveraging from now as it is available in public preview. So again, going to see the large picture of what the Azure platform actually provides you as a platform for building intelligent apps. We will go back to Paul to discuss a bit how function as a service, Azure Functions, can be another great tool for your team to complement what you have already building in a cloud-native fashion on AKS. So, Paul, if you would like, to discuss about, Azure Function as a service and what new are coming into into play with the new announcements.
Amazing. Can we switch the presentation back to mine so I have control?
Sure.
Amazing. Thank you. I love those updates to AKS. I think that was a fantastic whiz through the tour of all the things we're doing with AKS to make it more friendly for AI development. Some really, really cool stuff there. As Nico mentioned, I want to dive a bit deeper into Azure Functions and how you can use Azure Functions in these scenarios as well. So I think, looking back to my 20 plus years in IT, we've seen a definite trend of the unit of the scale of compute getting smaller and smaller, right? If I look back to when I started, and it was not quite mainframes, but servers in data centers, that was your kind of unit of compute. A server in a data center, if you wanted to scale it, if you wanted to deploy it, it was a physical deployment, then a code deployment, application deployment, etc. And then VMs came, and your unit of compute got smaller. Now it's like a 50 gigabyte VM or something, but they're still not that agile to throw around. Containers changed that. They gave us orchestration and scheduling with Kubernetes, etc., and often much, much smaller container images, right? Down to a couple of megabytes to a couple of 100 megabytes or gigabytes for AI models. But functions and serverless takes that one step further. It really embodies the spirit of you think about your code and let your cloud provider think about how to run it, scale it, etc., allowing you to have really rapid development, focusing on developing your functions, your code, and deploying them to a function serverless platform like Azure Functions, allowing you to be completely event-driven, reactive to things when they happen, whether it's a queue or a bus, or whether it's a HTTP call coming in, or anything in your environment, attaching events to that and doing something with it, allowing you to scale to zero, right? Really cost-effective way of working, allowing you to scale to zero, great for peaky workloads, all with minimal operational overhead. So with Azure Functions, you get that integrated programming model, right? Allowing you to compose a function that triggers off an event with a binding to invoke something and do something and run your code when it executes. It allows you to scale that, right? You can scale that up, scale that down, depending on your event source and your needs and your requirements and your cost model, giving you that kind of end-to-end development experience of, hey, I'm going to focus on what moves the needle for my organization. I'm not going to focus on the hardware, the operating systems, the scaling metrics, etc. I'm going to look at my code, and in Azure, I want you to think about running it. And that's serverless for you. That's the Azure Functions offering. When I say event-based, there's a ton of stuff that you can do with Azure Functions, right? Whether it's reacting to new transactions in your retail systems or banking systems to look at things like fraud detection, maybe doing real-time AI inference whenever a new transaction comes through your system, real-time data stream processing, right? Looking at data coming in, working out how are we going to process this in smarter ways, getting away from that kind of, we're going to batch our data every 24 hours and do a mass import job. How do we get to a world where it's much more real-time, much more responsive, so that when things come into our system, we can process them instantly with a function that just gets invoked automatically? How do we think about workflows and orchestration? So maybe you have a complex chain of like a store checkout at a supermarket or something. So something goes in the basket, we need to maybe apply promotions and offers, then do delivery and scheduling and integrate with our ERP, etc. Using functions, you can orchestrate these complex workflows right from within Azure. You can have scheduled tasks, you can have connected devices, you can connect those to web or mobile backends, etc. It really is limitless what you can do with Azure Functions. The key is working out what are the events that you want to trigger from? How are you going to integrate that in? And so we think about Azure Functions as a key enabler for lots of AI use cases, whether it's chatbots and AI-powered assistants that you're building, whether it's bring your own data for retrieval augmented generation, RAG pattern, right? So this is a really common pattern when you're building an AI app and you want to give it context on your data. Typically, when you're in that scenario, you have some data. Maybe it's PDF files, maybe it's images, maybe it's text-based. And you want to get that into your large language model. Get it in a way that users can ask questions of your data. RAG is the most common pattern for doing this, and it involves ingesting in that data and vectorizing it. Azure Functions provide a really, really great way of doing that. So as data comes in, you have an Azure function that vectorizes that into a common vector database. Maybe it's Cosmos DB, etc., or another offering there. And also building actions and functions for OpenAI. So a lot of the use cases we've seen so far have been around, okay, how do we allow people to chat with data? But actually, what if we took that a step further? And you know the flight example I gave earlier where I tried to book a flight, I needed to rebook it, I was speaking to the chat bot. What if instead of just giving me information, it could actually rebook my flight for me? And get our LLMs and our chatbots to actually do actions within our environments with the full context of our customers and what they're trying to do and their data and their profile and that kind of 360 view. Well, functions are a really great way of triggering those actions right from the LLM and the chatbot, but also for passing data for model training as well and making adjustments to data so that you can better train your models. And with that, I want to hand back to Nico. Nico's going to talk you through flex consumption plans, which is something we've added very recently to Azure Functions in preview, and take you through a demo of that. So Nico, back to you. And if we could switch the slides back as well.
Okay. Thank you very much, Paul. Azure Function is really something really close to my heart as a developer. Make things so simpler with just some lines of code, reacting to events and scaling to meet your client's demands. It's really impressive how can empower a dev team be really fast and agile. So going now on the new offerings, let's say, and ways to leverage Azure Function, Flex Consumption Plan, which is now available through an early access preview, allows enterprise customers especially, or customers that are really sensitive in the privacy and the network security of their deployments, not only to take advantage of the very aggressive scaling that Azure Functions can provide, but also doing it in a way that can scale down to zero when needed, scale up to really meet any customer demand, any load, any spike that is incoming in terms of load, but also do that integrated in a virtual network, keeping all this traffic and processes internal. So something that was missing from consumption plan is now being available in Flame consumption plan for all those enterprise needs in a fashion that is really easy for a team to deploy and have that infrastructure problem being completely out of their responsibility and vision. So how can we leverage, let's say, tying, let's say, this new workload in what was already in place? Let's build a complementary pipeline of ingesting, let's say, customer feedback and support cases to our Azure function, create embeddings, and send them to event hubs, which would then be the downstream processing into a vector database for AKS custom model. So all this, of course, traffic from the Azure function backend to the event hubs will remain within our virtual network, keeping everything under control and security happy in a network air-gapped environment. So going and seeing a bit how this would work, let's see an implementation of an Azure function to process customer feedback. We have an HTTP trigger. We have an event hub output, a binding, actually simplifying a lot how I can propagate those events to event hubs. I have my deployment environment here. And if I go to my application insights instance, which is hooked up to that function, we'll see that this, for now, it is inactive. It doesn't serve any request. It's actually sleeping, scaled down to zero, keeping my cost minimal and optimized. So I will run an application load, a load test through Azure Load Test, but why not keep in the mix an external load testing mechanism in order to create that immense load to test out how my application would behave. So I'm having also Event Hub namespace, which, as you will see in my networking setup, it is completely disabled from public network access. Not even trusted Microsoft services can connect it. And it's only available to be leveraged through a private endpoint, keeping all this connectivity internal. So as you will see, I can have VNet integrated my function application, and I can see that it is already connected in my virtual network, available only keeping that traffic internal. So as my load testing gets warm, I see that my application is now scaled to handle to 2000 requests per second, scaled out to 113 servers instantly almost, in order to cater for that demand. I had run previously the task to see both load tests running in parallel, as you see, from scale to zero, scaled up to 102 servers to handle the first wave of load, then to 176 to handle the second load test through my third-party service, and it scaled almost instantly down when the load was no longer there, keeping my cost under control. As you will see, my function continuously to process 20K requests per second, scaled out, and it will scale back down in no time when the load actually gets absorbed. So exciting news for customers, allowing to leverage this flex consumption tier for internal workloads as well. So again, Microsoft is here also to provide many different options to developers in order to streamline the dev experience, in order to provide them with the speed, scale, and safety, host models and platform services to accelerate adoption of AI functionality, and provide high performance managed database in order to deliver those intelligent apps to your market and to your clients as fast as possible. So all this innovation is coming also to the way you can run your containers. If you want the absolute control of your orchestrator, then Azure Kubernetes Service is the service to use. It's industry standard. It's one of the de facto currently orchestrators for containers. It is extensibly and customizable, but at the same time, it's very close to a vanilla Kubernetes installation. But Kubernetes is not simple. And Azure Container Apps can really abstract away the complexity of running and managing a Kubernetes environment, keeping the focus only on the pod level, on the container that you want to deploy, on that piece of microservice that you want to roll out, and have all the details and the complexity of Kubernetes be managed for you behind the scenes. So it is actually behind the scene an AKS environment that is hosting it, but you keep a much simplified developer experience, again, able to scale based on events, like in a similar fashion as Azure Functions, provide you with a very easy way not only to roll out your applications, but really have them behave very flexibly to manage the load and spikes when they come. But at the same time, we want to enable the machine learning workload to be enabled in Azure Container Apps as well. So we now have in preview GPU workload profiles, VectorDB add-ons in order to host your VectorDBs directly in Azure Container Apps. And we have resiliency policy review. And at the same time, we have the landing zone accelerator generally available for container apps, which provides you with a very prescriptive deployment catering for all the demands for an enterprise-grade container apps deployment. So built on top of what we had as an enterprise-scale landing zone, application infrastructure through the landing zone accelerator, it is provided end-to-end, catering for all the concerns of an enterprise workload in terms of security, managing of secrets, networking, security, and so on. Provide you not just with the ideas of how a well architected, let's say, workload would look like, but also with a proven deployment that you can, open source deployment that you can use and tailor to your needs, but having a skeleton that is working and up to our best practices directly from the get-go. So landing zone accelerator is also a concept that is not only applied in container apps, but also applied in API management, in app services, in AKS. So have a visit in landing zone accelerators in the link that you see on the screen in order to leverage directly an environment end-to-end with a sample application, with everything needed for a dev team to start working in enterprise fashion with our platform as a service offerings. Again, as we briefly touched, the ability of container apps now to cater for AI workloads and intelligent apps is enabled through the enablement of GPU-enabled workload profiles, in managed and in place support for several vector DB, open source vector DB databases, and this code onboarding directly without needing even on your local machine to have Docker or container knowledge. So this would be, let's say, how I could build, music recommendation services purely on Azure Container Apps, keeping my front end in Java, but again deploying a container, my backend API in Python, using an add-on binding directly to a vector DB with Quadrant in this particular case, and running my model in GPU accelerated backend compute instance. So having said that, we will wrap it up with another copilot, let's say, that is here to help you manage your Azure environment. So Microsoft Copilot for Azure is again another AI companion that can help you simplify a lot the way you design, that you operate, you troubleshoot both your application and infrastructure in Azure environment. Which is now available in the Azure portal directly, and it will be expanded to the Azure mobile application and the CLI interface, which is all loved by developers. So it can provide you, because it has, of course, the context of your environment, it can provide you with deep insights directly and find personalized solutions on the issues or logs, let's say, that you currently have in your workloads. Discover new cloud functionality. So ask Copilot directly in natural language on how to discover and utilize the functionality of services available to Azure for a specific business need that you might have, but also help you a lot do complex tasks faster, because it can, let's say, create the KQL queries, let's say, in order to dig deeper on the logs, how to dig deeper on the state of your environment, how many resources you have, how they're used, and so on, and allows you to then streamline the way you process and create those queries in a managed fashion across all your team. So having said that, please have a look on how Copilot can work for you. I will let, let's say, a bit the video, let's say, to discuss how you can directly ask Copilot how to ask direct questions about your environment, return with specific references to your resources when it's about them, how to troubleshoot specific problems, how to run commands against your workloads, how to iterate through the logs, how to create complex queries, aggregating, business results that you want to see, let's say, out of your workload, and how to troubleshoot more effectively your Azure deployments. And with that said, again, Azure is a complete platform and environment, very dev friendly, with all the Lego pieces in order to make you and your organization successful in your cloud journey. Provide you with all the necessary tools to streamline the way that you build your applications and you innovate faster in a pace never seen before. We really are fortunate, let's say, as developers, to be living in that era, to have all these tools in our fingertips, able to cater and for our advanced, let's say, customer needs in a much faster pace. So this will be the session about AI and Kubernetes. I don't know if we have any questions.
So I think that we are a little bit short on time. So if we have any questions, please post them, and then we are going to take that offline and answer the question. And thank you so much, Paul and Nikos, for this great presentation of end-to-end the development and building intelligent apps with AKS, Kubernetes, and AI. I think that all of us, after today's session and last week's session, convinced that this is the way to build new application, intelligent application, with scaling and injecting AI for those kind of services. I also recommend you that if you did not join last week, and you have questions on when to use containers, when to use AKS, so check out the Ron session from last week show. You would find it really interesting, as well as additional scenarios and case studies. With that, thank you so much, Nikos and Paul. Thanks. And as always, we always want to show you some real case study and scenario from real life. And today we have the pleasure to have with us Stelios Agapios, from senior account executive for public sector for Microsoft. And today we're gonna see a case study that personally I was really fascinated by, because it's not just a startup. I mean, it's not a startup case study or an enterprise. It's something that's relevant to each one of us as a citizens in our countries that we live in, and it's an amazing example of innovation that's coming from Greece government. So thank you so much, Stelios. The floor is yours. You are on mute, so just unmute yourself. Or just myself, we cannot hear you. Let's see. Yeah, then is it just me not hearing Stelios, or?
I can't hear also.
Check out maybe on the settings. And meanwhile, it's a great opportunity to share with you, like Yerden just presented, that on the Reactor, we have a lot of opportunities to skill up and learn. One of them is the Build Intelligent Apps the show and series that we currently have. It's 60 days full and packed of opportunities, with videos, with Ask the Expert, with community, with Learn Live, a lot of challenges. Let's see, Stelios. Nope, not yet.
No, we cannot hear you.
Try to log out and log in again, and you are also muted. Okay, till then, so on that one, on the Build Intelligent Apps, there is also Cloud Skill Challenge. If you're not familiar with that, it's a learning. I think that I hear something.
Hello?
Yeah,
No?
we have that.
Okay, so sorry about that, sorry. Okay,
Oh.
Hi again. Nikos, Okay, this is the presentation we have with Nicolas Adoniou. And I will start now. Okay, MyGov is the first government citizen-facing chatbot in Greece. With all the core government processes, we are talking about more than 5,000 processes. It is the entry gate and the landmark of AI technology in our country, in Greece. As you can see in this slide, the publicity of the first days was huge. In order to make this a success story, we had more than 6 months discussions with the Minister of Digital Government here in Greece and his core team, of course. And we decided after 6 months to move forward and to make the MyGov a reality by taking advantage four main factors. First of all, the government and health cloud agreement. We have an agreement with the government, with the Greek government, a 3 years agreement that fully supports the cloud first policy of Greece, where in this agreement, Azure is the cloud platform ready to host and digitalize the government and health entities. Then, of course, the second factor was and is the Microsoft state-of-the-art solution, the Azure OpenAI. Moreover, the third factor is the selection of the right ecosystem of partners. Ubitech is the right partner for AI in Greece. We have along with Ubitech our major partners, OTE and Accenture. And finally, the last but not least factor was our persistence in the Greek government for demo solution presentations and not just PowerPoints. So our message was clear, crystal clear to the government. The full stack of Azure technology, including AI, along with partners' experience and effort for development services, are ready today and not tomorrow, today for go live. So we had less than a month to deliver the chatbot as a service to the Greek citizens and not as a demo. So we had discuss, design, analyze, and deliver in the same time, all in parallel. The main cause and the main reason of our success story for delivering a stable and effective solution to the citizens was the one team in real, day and night. All the team members, we were available 24/7 for 30 days. And imagine that we didn't just consult, analyze, and design, we delivered a solution in every field, technical or process-wise. And in order to see how successful and useful chatbot is the MyGov, the first 2 days of Go Live, we had more than 60,000 hits. And now, after 3 months of Go Live, the hits are around 500,000 in total. So that's all for me. Let's go to Nicolas now in order to see more details about the solution.
Okay, so first of all, Stelio, thank you very much for the intro and the information. And we can go a bit deeper on the technical side, let's say, of how we made this OpenAI-powered chatbot run at a scale in an environment that is available to all the Greek citizens. And with an opening that would allow everybody, every single citizen in Greece, or visitor even in Greece, know and understand all the processes, let's say, within the Greek government. So if we go a bit further, let's say, how we managed to make it happen, because back then it was a bit of uncharted territory, let's say, running an OpenAI application at such a scale without having, a period of really testing it out and have the luxury of time to make it to test out exactly every single aspect of it. Of course, first of all, is create some control measures that in generative AI application cannot be, let's say, stressed enough. Okay, because it's a different nature of applications that may need a bit different handling in terms of how to develop and manage those applications. Of course, keeping the data secure and all the communication between the channels, network gap was really important, because especially when the users were not authenticating in the beginning, any personal identifiable information we didn't want to leak anywhere outside the system. And of course, we, as a first approach, we didn't even want to actually manage them. So in the beginning, every single input would be redacted from personal identifiable information in order to keep the platform GDPR compliant, and of course to address all the inquiries in the beginning that the users were not authenticated in an anonymous fashion. Content safety, again, opening up such a platform to all users without having an authentication protection layer required that content safety and any abusive input would be cut directly from the beginning, not allowing that input to actually leverage and use resources that would be useful for other citizens at the same time, but also to allow an inclusive environment for everybody. Then we had to secure by prompting that no model jailbreaking would occur, that nobody would be able to leverage that chatbot for information or for processing of information that was not intended to be by the bot. So as Telio said, there was a big set of processes by the Greek government prescribed as the knowledge base of the chatbot, and whatever fall outside of that knowledge base would not be answered, would not answer any personal information for members of the government and so on. So protect exactly how the bot would be leveraged, and allow only a specific persona and specific set of information to be served to the end user. Then, whenever you run an application, sometimes you have unit tests, integration tests, and so on. In an LLM application, that is not enough. It's not enough that your application is up and running, but it's also very important for every single iteration, for every single change of the prompting, for every single change of the knowledge base, that you keep the quality of the answers, especially in an infobot at this first approach, in a high standard. So it's really important not only to test functionality, but really to test the quality of the output, which is something that the traditional application would not have as a prerequisite. As you know, the output in a traditional application is deterministic. Then we had to optimize the application for throughput. OpenAI is our most expensive resource, and we have to make sure that we're not wasting it for anything else that could be catered, through an application design that could cater for this aspect without having to go to OpenAI to get a response back. So any chit chat, any initial greetings and opening statements could be handled directly from the application, having a semi-smart layer to directly address those opening statements without going directly to OpenAI and use tokens for this. Detect generic questions to require refinement early up. So when we have a question by a user, let's say how to issue a license, this is generic. It could be a license for marriage or for a driving license and so on. So whenever there was matches that could be in very different domains in the knowledge base, then directly would not use that matches in order to get a generic response, but rather required a refinement in the question in order to directly pinpoint a specific domain that the query was about. Then introducing a semantic caching layer. So whenever you had very similar or even the same question by a user, you may want to even cast the result even for a short period of time in order to use something that was pre-calculated for the next user asking exactly the same question, semantically the same. So not only matching, that the wording was exactly the same, but the domain was exactly the same. So that was really important also to reduce, especially for very specific and new processes, the load on of the backend systems of the OpenAI part. Then optimize token usage. In Greek, the token required is more than 5 times the tokens for a similar English question. So using smart techniques in order to use translation in the correct places in order to optimize token usage without sacrificing any of the quality of the answers was another measure that helped this application actually with specific backend throughput for OpenAI to serve all the customers that were coming into the governmental portal. And finally, apart from on Azure, we have the way, let's say, to have an OpenAI endpoint with provision throughput, so a guaranteed throughput with specific SLA. But whenever this was not enough, and this was the case for whenever, let's say, there was a public announcement in the media outlets, that we had the very huge spikes temporarily, for the duration of that news broadcast, then we would allow the overflowing request to go to a pay-as-you-go OpenAI endpoint through the use of API management. Again, Azure would providing us many alternatives to use those services in a very managed way. So the logical flow would look like something like this. Again, all the building blocks were provided by Azure, allowing an inclusive user interface with speech to text, AI cognitive service for content safety. The frontend actually in this case was provided by App Service in a Container web app for containers, which was more than enough for the backend of the system. Cosmos DB as the backend for quality assurance. Redis Cache for the caching and allowing the application to scale a lot of the requests that were coming back from the OpenAI to be cached temporarily in Redis Cache. Azure AI Search in order to have a precise vector backend in order to search for our knowledge base. Some techniques using a mixed balanced mix, let's say, of translated content in English and one Greek article in order to provide the best mix of token usage and accuracy in the result. And all, of course, complemented with all the services on Azure to allow, private endpoints, storage accounts, and so on, all the complementary services in order to allow in a fast iteration. So the final architecture would look like something like this, with all the components, apart from the code of the backend provided by Azure, making the life and, let's say, the concerns much less, because in a very limited amount of time, this would have to be, a production-grade deployment. So, again, before passing it back to Stelios for the closing and what would be the next steps. What were the success metrics of this deployment? As already mentioned at the beginning, more than 500,000 dialogues have been so far processed, and the feedback by both the government, but also, of course, from the citizens were very, very positive, very accurate results. Currently averaging around 80 users per minute, and currently, now that things are much more stable, about 30 request exchanges, let's say, dialogue exchanges per minute, as the load now is steady. And as you see, there were some huge spikes in the traffic, especially on the launch, that the hype was very high, and that were public announcements during news times. So back to Stelios for...
Thank you, Nicholas. So, as we mentioned before, the MyGov is the entry gate of the Greek public sector in the world of AI. The next step for MyGov is to become an action bot and not only an information bot. So, for example, MyGov, please provide me a certification that I'm married. This is the next step to become an action bot. As you can realize, we are very proud that we are the trusted and reliable technology partner of the Greek government for AI. The vision of our Prime Minister is our country to become a proven center of AI excellence, the AI center of the European Union. This is the dream, this is the vision. Microsoft is more than willing to help and support the government for this vision. And we are a proven and unique partner for the government. And looking forward the next months, we are here to, along with the Greek government and our partners, of course, to analyze, design, and execute more AI use cases and services for other ministries and independent authorities in the health sector, in the civil protection domain, in the finance, in the environmental industry, in the education, and etc. That's all for me. Thank you very much for having us here today and for your time, of course. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for joining us today and seeing this innovation coming from Greece. It's really amazing opportunity for us to understand what kind of opportunities we have with AI. So thank you so much for sharing with us this great example. And in the next upcoming 2 sessions, we're going to see some additional use cases of generative AI and great startups. So stay tuned for the next 2 sessions. So moving on to wrapping this amazing show that we have today, we wanted to equip you with some additional tools and resources you can leverage to learn about how to build your own scenarios of generative AI and intelligent apps. So we presented the previous slide with the 60 days of building intelligent apps that you can leverage. If you've seen the previous sessions, you are familiar as a Microsoft account on the full days of training. So we have here the Merge virtual training event, but also you can reach out to your account executives or your Microsoft friends to ask about the upcoming full days of those trainings that also give you whether it's a free or discounted vouchers for certificates on those topics. We also sharing this opportunity of the Azure Innovate program because we do have a lot of Microsoft accounts joining us. These programs provide grants for partners, for Microsoft partners, to help you with creating your POCs or your production project, leveraging the app innovation services, whether it's AKS, whether it's containers, Microsoft services, API management, including GitHub, when we've seen that in the previous sessions. So what you need to do in order to get more details about that. So you can either look into AKMS, Azure Innovate offering, or ask your partners that and look into the partners portal if you don't have any partner that support you yet. So you can also reach out to the partners and ask for this program. And you can also reach out to Microsoft employees, whether it's MTC or your account executive, to have the opportunity to do some envisioning sessions with them to understand how can you leverage AI cases or how can you integrate AKS or containers into your existing, or if you are thinking about migrate application to the cloud. And as always, we really like to equip you with some chat sheet. So you can look into AKMS pathway. There is the AI learning companion guide and PDF. You can also briefly review. Yes, thank you, Yarden. On those slides, there is a lot of opportunities for you to skill up through Microsoft Learn. The AI is just one of them. There is also relevant ones for DevOps engineer, for IT, for AI engineer, for many kind of opportunity for job roles. You can scan this QR code and you will reach to opportunity for you to get familiar with all of the Microsoft Reactor events, as well as getting some of the PDF and presentation that we presented, the PDF for the chat sheet, and some additional resources and links. If we have some startups in the crowd that are not familiar yet with the Microsoft for Startups program Founders Hub, so this is an opportunity for you, because in this program you can get up to $150,000 to support your startups from the first steps on the ideation to develop your POC, and then grow with us and scale your project and your startup on our tools. And you don't only get credits for Azure, but you also get a lot of third-party tools that we're going to help you in every step on the way, as well as a great wide net of mentors and reach to Microsoft product group. So you're welcome to apply today. And with that, thank you so much for joining us. We hope that it gave you a lot of value, and you are welcome to join us or revisit some of the previous session that we had in the series. You are welcome to join for next week's session. We're gonna speak about LLM for software developers and how to leverage LLM into your application. We're gonna have a great session about responsible AI. We're gonna see a startup that leverage and actually build this kind of include responsible AI in their startups, as well as additional startup that leveraging generative AI in a lot of their features, and it really transformed the way that they operate and scale. So it's amazing to see, along with a great overview and also deep dive into, like we saw on the comments, some of the question was to see more of a hands-on sessions. So you're going to get that as well on next week. We also recommend you to review the previous developers, generative AI for developers series that we had. It's linked to the registration page for this series. So thank you so much for joining us. Good night, good morning, depends on where you are joining us around the world. See you next time, next week, same hour.